Well, thanks for that introduction, Jimmy, and explaining the course. And now we're ready for Kaelene Forsyth and her dog Gypsy Rose from Ericsdale, Manitoba, to get us going on the open course. Kaelene and Gypsy are standing and ready to go at the post.
Jeff, I'm really looking forward to this run, as I am all of them, but Kaelene is an up-and-coming star in the dog handling world. She just seems to get better every time she goes out there. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this good dog and her in the finals today.
She has worked really well all week. Like we were telling everyone before, this will be Kaelene's third run here in Steamboat. Her two preliminary runs looked really good. You know, it's her first national finals. She's a young lady in her 20s, and so she's performing really well for her first national finals, competing against some of the top and certainly more experienced handlers in the country.
Looks like the dog's done an excellent job lifting these cattle off top of the hill. As we'll see coming into view here, we've got 3 more head of cattle that have been let out down by the road, and it's their job to put these 6 head together and bring them towards the fetch panels. And she's done a nice job of bringing those first 3 down to the other 3.
Yep, and you can tell, and we're going to see that in a lot of the runs they have all week, those cattle, when they hit that irrigation ditch that's dry right now. But that's the purpose of that ditch. If you're not used to irrigation and things in the West, there's times when they fill that up with water to irrigate these pastures. That ditch is kind of a natural obstacle, and when those cattle come off that berm that ditch is created with, they really speed up at times. So she did a nice job handling that not a pointed obstacle, but it's a natural obstacle there in the middle of the field.
One thing I think we'll see too, talking about coming through that ditch, is sometimes that's going to create some separation with the groups of cattle, because some of the cattle will come over it and speed up as they come off, and some of the cattle will slow down and stop when they get to that ditch.
That's right.
Then it becomes the handler's job to stop the leader and pick up the cattle that are dragging behind.
That's right, and Kaelene and Rose are continuing to do a really good job as they brought those cattle through those fetch panels on their first shot, and then they crossed between that tee chute and the scorer's table and crossed the timeline. And so they're on track and flowing well. The cattle tend to be a little bit heavy over here in this corner where off to the viewer's left, that south, or what would be the northeast corner of the field, that's where the cattle go out. And since they've been on the field a couple of times this week already, they've learned where the outgate is, and they wanted to be over there. So Kaelene got them collected nicely and is headed up the field on their first drive leg.
I really like how quiet this dog is working. These cattle have been worked several times, as you said, and they don't need a lot of force. They just need some guidance, and she's handling the dog well. The dog's staying off and just kind of guiding the cattle around. I really like the way they're handling this group.
It is really nice, and here again we're seeing the elevation come to play, in that they're definitely take a little more push going back up the hill and pushing them up over that berm and that irrigation ditch. But Kaelene and Rose are being really patient in how they kind of push them up there gently, not stirring anything up.
I know on the ranch, if you've got one that wants to lead the rest of them to water, you let them go ahead and do it. But at this trial, you want to keep the cattle together, because you've got to push them all through a set of panels or an obstacle. We had one cow trying to take off, and we just saw Kaelene do an excellent job of bringing that single back to the group and then picking the rest of the group back up and starting up the hill with them.
That's right, and that's something that these dogs do really naturally, and Kaelene helped Rose through that a little bit. Here she's got another one kind of wanting to go off on its own, but she's not going to tuck that one in, because the independent calf there actually has the right idea. He's pointed more towards between those set of 2 panels up on that hillside, and that's where Kaelene and Rose want those cattle to go. That's that first set of drive panels, and she gets the other 5 head to come rejoin the one. And there they go, just letting them mosey through those drive panels for another full score obstacle.
So far we're seeing a real clean run here. Cattle are quiet. They're anxious to put their heads down, so it does take a little bit of force from the dog to keep them moving, but at the same time she's avoiding any kind of stampede here.
She is. She's taking her time. There's ample time to get this course done. And again, like you told us in the introduction, Jimmy, this isn't about time and who can get it done the fastest. It's who has the best control and can get all of the phases of work done and all the obstacles completed with all of their cattle. So it's not a race, it's get the job done in the most workmanlike fashion. So she's doing a good job of that.
She is, in my opinion, subscribing to a theory that was shared with me by a dear friend of both mine and yours, who said if you go out like you've got 15 minutes, it'll take all day, but if you go out like you've got all day, it'll take 15 minutes.
That's right. You know, I've heard it said another way, we don't have time to be in a hurry.
There you go.
So if you don't have time to be in a hurry, it usually goes better.
I think that most people would agree this is the way they want their cattle handled. Nice, quiet, cattle are undisturbed. She's doing a great job. This is a good run to start off the day with.
It sure is, and it also shows to me, you know, people would say, well, my cows or cattle don't work like that, quite like that at home. Folks, we haven't done anything to train these cattle or sedate these cattle to make them respect that dog that much. The only thing that these cattle have had done to them, maybe a little bit more out of the ordinary, is they've been worked with dogs more. And just are more accustomed and have that respect to the dog, but then still trust them that when that dog is back in there behind them and asks them to turn or presents a little bit of a presence, and for them to avoid, that the dog is going to give them time and that they're going to be able to escape safely in their minds from the dog and go where the handler and dog are directing them.
Now, you had mentioned earlier about the cattle being heavy to the northeast corner of the field where we've been exhausting them for several days. So coming off of that cross drive panel, the cattle may have a tendency to want to run towards that corner. But Kaelene did an excellent job here of keeping those cattle quiet as she approached that tee that they just went through. She was able to hit it on the first attempt without having any cattle try to run around the pen and having to be stopped and brought back. So that was an excellent job there.
They did. They did a really good job. And just to remind everybody watching that it doesn't matter what direction they come out of that tee. They can come out of that tee either side for full points. And now we see Kaelene has scored every calf through every obstacle all the way through the course. And now she's going to approach what's probably the trickier at hand work close in. She's going to put 3 head of these cattle in that pen, and she's going to close the gate on them, and then she's going to take the remaining 3 head that are out on the course. She's going to take them up to the sorting box and alley up the hill from her a little bit. So as she and Rose use a nice light touch, but she makes that cut and Rose comes in to help her make that cut of the 3 head that were closest to the pen, and there they go in and the gate is shut. Kaelene changed the gate, and we'll go up and she and Rose will push those cattle up to that alleyway.
You know, a lot of ranchers I talk to when they're called looking for a dog say they don't need a trial dog, but here's a dog that just came in and did what we might call an advanced training technique. Some people call it a shed, the cut of those 3 head. How useful that is in a ranching situation. You could quietly bring some stock up to the gate, ease them around till you get the ones you want and call that dog in, and out the gate they go. That might save you from having to pin your cattle or upset them in another way by having the dog do this advanced technique. And she did it quite well and made sorting those 3 look very uneventful.
That's right. Everything stayed calm and quiet. The cattle are being really good for her. As we go through the runs today, the weather's been a factor. Most of our days here at Steamboat this last week have been pretty sunny and pretty consistent through the day. The day we're running this open final, they The weather has been sometimes cloudy, sometimes maybe a threatening storm come up, and then other times kind of hot and windy. And it's affected the cattle and dogs differently as we went along through different runs. So Kaelene needs to get 2 head out of the far hole in this sorting box. And so she's having, or she can take the 1 head out that side. It doesn't matter the order that they go in, but one has to come out the side hole that she was standing in right then, and then she needs to take the other 2 head out that far hole in that sorting box, and there they go. And those cattle are scored when their tails cross the plane of that opening.
I might add that the way she has been handling those cattle throughout the run really paid off in that sort. As you can see, there are 4 exits, the 1 exit being the way they came in and 3 other exits, but only 2 of them were scoreable. And if those cattle entered very fast or were upset, you could have cattle going in 3 different directions.
Okay, with the completion of that sorting obstacle, Jimmy, Kaelene is going to move on to the exhaust. She's got ample time to do it. She's around the 11-minute mark. The cattle want to go there naturally anyway, as we've talked about. And so Kaelene, with a preliminary score, came in pretty low at 225. She had a little bit of difficulty in her second go-round, came in with a score of 105 out of 135 on that day. So she had a lot of ground to make up, but she did everything she could today. It was a beautiful run at full points at 285. And as long as the gate doesn't fall off its hinges, doesn't lock up here, and these cattle walk out for her, she's going to finish up with a score of 510 points, which for the time right now, we were early in the going today, put her in first place.
We're here visiting with Kaelene Forsyth from Ericsdale, Manitoba, Canada. You've come a long way to this dog trial.
Yes, we did, yep.
You just had a good run in the open with your good dog, Gypsy Rose. Tell us what went right out there.
Well, I drew some really good cattle. You know, the weather was cool, the clouds came over, everything was kind of in my favor, and of course my dog listened very well to me. Yeah, I was really happy with her.
Well, it was a very good run. Y'all did a great job. Now, to get to the finals, you had to have 2 preliminary rounds, working 3 head each time. But in the finals, you're working 6. Was your strategy any different, and how much more difficult is it?
Well, I found actually that the cattle worked a lot better in a larger group. You know, it was easier for me to keep them together as a whole. So they flowed a lot better throughout the course off the pressure of my dog.
Did you find the obstacles any tougher than they were in the preliminary rounds?
Of course they're tougher. It's good. It's the finals. It has to be tough. Yeah, it was good.
Now, Gypsy Rose has a dual purpose. She's your trial dog, but she works on the ranch as well. Is that correct?
Yes. I use her and her daughter every day on the ranch. You know, moving cattle, pasture to pasture, shoot work, that type of thing. Yep.
Good. And how old is she now?
She's 4 years old.
So she's got a long trial and career ahead of her.
Well, I hope so. Yes. Yeah.
Well, have you enjoyed your time here at the first National Cattledog Finals, and we will see you next year?
Oh, for sure. Like, gorgeous area. You know, you're in the mountains, you're in the Napa Valley. It's beautiful. Yeah, for sure. I'll be back.
Great. Well, thanks for visiting with us.